Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. So I thought I would record it in this format since I'll do a little bit of a screen share. I was going to do my little pre-expo video. So twas the night before expo, recording this on the Wednesday, and then we're going to start off with the VIP night on Thursday. But as I started going through my checklist, I realized something. This is probably the most streamlined, like very straightforward, generic kind of setup for the expo that I've ever had. And it's not because I haven't thought about it ahead of time or had any planning or preparation for it. It's just that what I want to do is basically probably the most straightforward that it's ever been. But I'll go through it anyway, just really high level, and then I'll kind of share a little fun thing that I happen to catch by accident at the end. It doesn't directly pertain to this channel; it pertains to the other channel that I have. But I just thought it was kind of funny because I came across it by accident. But as I started going through the little checklist of things, there's usually a handful of staples that I always have that when it comes to the expo, and this is no exception. But a lot of the other stuff that usually is there has been kind of stripped away. So what it comes down to is like at any other big show, you're going to have a variety of different things that you're going to be looking to do. Really, what it comes down to, if you want to prepare for that kind of show, is that you want to look ahead of time to find out the floor plan, get the list of dealers and everything. That's the best way to kind of figure out where everything is situated. We talked about it a little bit on the live stream and a little bit on the podcast. And that's exactly what it is. You're trying to get a little bit of the lay of the land ahead of time. The more you know where things are kind of relative to each other. I like to use landmarks personally. Some of the big booths are great landmarks. That's something I always use and something that I've used a lot in the past. I've been to enough of these expos and seen enough of these configurations that a lot of it is very straightforward to me. But if you are new to it, then I would really go out of my way to really kind of, you don't need to memorize it. And by the way, there's also an app that you can use that also help you find different booths and get booth numbers. But the way it's situated is the booth numbers are underneath. They're basically set up on the floor. They're a little bit harder to see. That's why I say if you can use some of the landmarks, it makes it a lot easier to go relative to, if it's over near where the signers are, that's over in one corner. If it's over where PSA and some of the graders are, that's over on one side of the building. And then you'll be able to kind of work everything off of that because certain big booths have enough of a floor presence that you can almost find them from any direction because they're going to have some overhead signage. So that's one of the big things that's on there. But as far as a lot of the rest of the preparation for it, a lot of it was very streamlined and straightforward this time around. So really what it came down to was getting a couple of things ready to go that I always have. One of them is I usually will drop off a couple of cards at ComC because they've got their booth there. And I did that. So I've got a box of stuff that's put together. And if you go to the website ahead of time, you can actually print out the little breakdown that has the code. So I did exactly that. I went over there and it prints a little barcode there for you that you can use. And then basically they can just scan it and you'll be all set to go. Rather than actually have to go on the computers and do the whole thing, you can walk up to the booth, make sure they scan the thing, drop it off, and there you go. That's one thing that you can use on there. Just a bit of a time saver personally. I just like to have that all ready to go ahead of time. I already put some cards aside, been slowly putting them away in a box so that I can take care of that. Speaking of, in the same vein, speaking of boxes, so this actually covers two different things. First, I'll talk about the ship my cards, and then I'll talk about this box. Ship My Cards does have a booth there, and in this particular case, sometimes is the case when they set up, they'll actually be able to take some stuff over for you. So in this case, up to 20 cards for $10. I talked about that in the live stream, which is a great deal, especially with the over the border thing. Obviously, for US folks, that's not really an issue, but for folks, in Canada and internationally, Ship My Cards is something that's useful. So that's one thing that becomes very handy in order to save you potentially some fees and costs. Let's just put it that way. Other thing though, and obviously I got this from them in one of previous orders where I had some stuff shipped over, but I actually wanted to kind of recommend this. If you're going to do any card show, personally, I really like boxes like this one personally, just because these ones come big enough that you can hold a number of different cards, but also because of the sizing of it, it actually holds slabs. So this one's actually really handy. You can actually put different varieties of cards into it. You could actually do double row if you really wanted to, just in a pinch. But otherwise, you can have stuff in top loaders, stuff in one touches, or even stuff in slabs. And this is a good size. If you're going to buy an absolute ton of cards, well, then you're a different conversation. But it's just nice to have that option to be able to use one of these. I throw one of these in my backpack, and it's just very handy for whatever. Plus, it actually also fits these things. So in this case, I can kind of combine the two and put them together. And there you go. And for now, that'll just be a simple way for me to keep all the stuff together. And when I throw it in the bag and then get rid of the stuff at ComC, and there you go. So like I said, it all comes down to some of the preparation stuff. Any of the stuff that I can kind of combine, it reduces the amount of extra space that I have to worry about. Lastly, kind of in that same vein, and this is something I do for this show because I am going to be there for the majority. I'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'll be there for just a little bit on Sunday before I take off. It is my home show, so it's not far from me. Obviously, it's driving distance, but regardless, I like to be there, kind of take advantage of the festivities, and a lot of that will be more easily available because the way it's set up is that the convention center is actually right across from the airport. So for a lot of folks, that's a convenient thing. But if you're somebody who's kind of in the area or whatever the case may be, a lot of the hotels are also just over down a main road, so it's a lot easier to get to and fro. So it's one of those things where when you're done the show, if you want to go back to the hotel and drop stuff off, or get a bite to eat, or have dinner, or go to one of the restaurants, all that stuff is kind of in a main area there. And the closer you are to it, the closer proximity, the easier things are to be able to make plans or whatever else it is you want to do. But the only other thing that I'll kind of mention, and this is something personally that I do, again, in the same vein as that box, which is very convenient, you can kind of combine and merge things. I actually like to bring one of these little shopping bags, these little plastic things, and I actually throw this in my backpack. Now, why would you do that? Mainly because if I decide, and this is something I'm going to talk about here in a second, if I decide to buy some cards and they happen to be in a box like this, or I decide to buy some wax, it's actually nice to be able to have a bag that I can just throw it in. Now, downside, you've got a second bag you want to keep an eye out on to make sure you don't lose sight of, because stuff can happen. In this case, I have the benefit that I have some friends that set up at a booth. So realistically, I can drop off a bag, and I'm only really carrying one bag at a time during the majority of the show. So that's less of a concern for me. But if you are somebody who's going to be walking the show floor and are constantly having to keep all your stuff together, well, then maybe not so much. But it's nice to have the option to be able to throw it in something like that and have a little bit less of a burden carrying things around. So I don't necessarily need to have my backpack and that bag, but I can basically take this straight out of the backpack and be able to walk around, especially if I'm going to go buy some wax. And kind of in that vein, that's going to be one of the things I'm going to be thinking about, mainly because when it comes to singles, and I'll talk about that here in a second, I don't necessarily have too much planned out comparatively to normal. I just talked about the ComC thing. I talked about getting the cards from Ship My Cards. So that's like a mail day, but not exactly. It's me picking up some cards. So I'll have those for sure. And I have one deal that I may have already set up already that I'll be able to take care of right on the first day. So for sure I'll have that. Beyond that, I don't know what's going to be out there that I'm necessarily going to pick up. The only thing that I threw in there that I had talked about previously that I was going to take on as a bit of a challenge, and I'll talk about it now, is the 1970-71 O-Pee-Chee hockey set. And that's something where I thought about maybe the possibility of it'd be kind of fun as a little bit of a personal challenge to see how much of my checklist I can knock off during the course of that show. And in that vein, I went old school and I actually printed up the sheet with all the different numbers. So I'm actually going to have the sheet of paper with me and mark them off as I find them. So hopefully I'll be able to get to some dealers that have a little bit of some vintage cards, and I'll be able to pick up some of these and scratch some numbers off this list. So I'll keep that list with me. So that'll be one set of singles potentially that I'll be picking up. There is also, like I said, the ones I'm going to grab at the Ship My Cards booth, and then as well that deal that I've already set up in advance. But outside of that, I don't really have a lot of the normal stuff that I would normally be following up on. In terms of grading, I don't really have anything that I'm planning on dropping off. They don't have any on-site grading this time around for PSA. So it's one of those things. A couple of the other graders do have that. I think KSA has that. I think Beckett has raw card review if you really want to. So it's one of those things. There are some options for you if that's what you really want to do. For me, from a collecting standpoint, usually when I'm getting stuff graded, most of the time now, it's for PC stuff. So I'll probably just wait till the fall. There's plenty of benefit for me to do that. There's a couple of one-of-ones and a couple of things related to my collection that I don't actually want to necessarily have mailed off. I'd rather just have it done on site and then be able to get it back in my hands. So that's kind of my intention. And for that reason, I don't see any reason to go and basically drop it off just to have it shipped out and then have to wait for it. Also, considering the things are a little bit slower at PSA, I have the luxury of being able to be patient. There's really no need for me to put it in the holder, so I'm not going to take any cards necessarily. If I come across something there that I want to have graded, that might be different. But right now, I don't have any plans for that. So that really was off the checklist right away. The ComC thing was an easy one. The Ship My Cards thing was an easy one. And then obviously print out the checklist, took care of that. And then some of this other stuff just to have boxes and places to be able to hold these cards. And then really just remembering my camera stuff. Really just to be able to take some vlogs and be able to take advantage of it. The plan is still to do some kind of a live stream if possible during the weekend. So I'll make sure to have my microphone with me. My laptop will be with me, and I'll use the camera on there in order to be able to potentially do that if I do. I've got to see how the Wi-Fi in the hotel holds up, but we'll go from there one step at a time. But outside of that, I'm going to kind of have to go with the flow and just see basically what I'm seeing out there. The only main things that I'm really looking for, like I said, other than this project that I have here that I keep the piece of paper for, the only things are the usual things that I like to do. I have my personal player collections that I'm working on, but I have no necessarily any sense of what could be out there. I'm always on the lookout for different stuff, and it's one of those things where I had my recent mail day, and I'll just quickly show. I had this materialistics card for Medana from the Cup. Well, basically stuff like that, stuff from the Cup, would definitely be something that would be of interest to me. And I'm sure there are some dealers who may have some of that, but I have a lot of it previously. And then I've had showed off this card in a previous mail day, and that's an early 2000s card. So anything left on my checklist from early 2000s and 90s will definitely be something of interest to me. Anything from the cup, especially autograph stuff that don't have already, something like that would be of interest to me. But I can't necessarily go into it expecting that. So that's the reason why I don't necessarily have a dead set. This is what I want to get out of the show. So I'm going to have to kind of play by ear, look around at the tables and see what I can find. Again, at least I've got the one project that I can look out for with some of the vintage dealers. But aside from that, it's kind of open ended. I don't necessarily have any specific plan. And that's the reason why as I mentioned, I'm going to bring this bag along as well, because if I'm able to find any of the wax at a decent price that I'm happy with, I do enjoy opening the odd box. So that's one of those things where I'm kind of looking forward to the possibility I may end up opening a couple of boxes as just something to have a little bit of fun with during the course of the show floor. But mostly it's just going to be hanging out, checking out a lot of what's out there, seeing what's going on right now in the current space, and then also hanging out, folks. I think that's going to be really enjoyable. I think we're going to have some fun with this one. Spring Expo tends to be a little bit quieter than the fall, but at the same time, it looks like this one's going to be a good one. At least some folks are coming here for the first time, so that's going to be kind of fun. And then we'll also have some of the regulars and some of the usuals that'll be coming down, and we'll have some fun with that as well. Now, since I was able to get through all that pretty quickly, I don't really need to belabor the point. Basically, I'm going to start putting some of this stuff away and getting everything situated. But before I go away, I'm going to finish off here kind of sharing on the screen. I will leave a link in the description to the Toronto Card Expo website. It's got all the different floor show maps, the dealer lists, and all that information, and also some stuff related to the events. So some people are going to like the main stage stuff. I'm not one of those people. Some people are going to be interested, though, in the VIP after party, the trade night, the hobby social night, all those things. That's not necessarily something I'm going to go hang out at, but there's definitely going to be some activity over there. And they basically got that all on its own tab for events. So it's actually very convenient in the way they set that up. For me, I tend to just enjoy hanging out with some folks and having dinner. And that's usually where we'll hang out and chat. It's a pretty good way to wind down after an evening of just hanging around in front of all that card and collecting thing. But the thing I mentioned that kind of came by accident was that since I was looking at the possibility, once I realized that there wasn't a lot of specific cards that I was going to be tracking down, then it became a matter of, okay, what other options are available to me? And like I said, if there's an opportunity where the wax is priced accordingly, then I'm happy to do it. So I decided to do a little bit of research in the sake of preparation. But as I started doing a little bit of a Google search, I started punching in. So one of the sets that I was looking at that would be nice to open if the opportunity presented itself is 2024 Upper Deck Black Diamond AEW. I always talk about on the Wrasslin channel over there, my affinity for those cards. The thing is, I like the cards. The box price, though, not necessarily the best. The value proposition isn't necessarily there. I did open a couple of boxes, though. That's going to come into play here. But I decided to see, a little bit of time has gone by. I think it came out last November. So now we've had a little bit of time. And, I'm kind of hoping to see if maybe some bargains could become part of that. And by the way, in that same vein, I'll just mention it here now. AMG is going to be focusing a little bit more on the boxes this time around. So probably on that AMG channel, which I've obviously talked about quite a bit, we'll probably do at least some kind of a video, at least showcasing what's on the table. So I think we'll have some fun with that for sure. But regardless, so for wax boxes in general, I'm crossing my fingers. I would love to see if maybe somebody has that Black Diamond product at a reasonable price. So I'm Google searching just to see what the current price is on some of the local sellers and things, just to get a bit of a gauge where things are. Not seeing any major discounts, but you never know. I'll cross my fingers. But in the course of searching, I accidentally came across something. One of the links that's on there, in addition to everything else, the checklist and all that stuff, was a link to the trading card database. And I just enjoyed this since I came across this randomly. I just thought I would share this here at the end of the video. And what it came down to is when I clicked on the link to trading card database, when I was scrolling through the list, I saw the trading card database link, but then I also saw a picture that looked familiar. So I'll quickly share here this image from the tab. And on this page, so this is the page itself, 2024 Upper Deck Black Diamond AEW. That's fine, all that. They got the checklist and all that stuff. They got the inserts, all the packaging, all that information that you expect from Trading Card Database. It is a crowdsourced medium. But one thing that I hadn't seen maybe previously in a different one, but it came across this one. If you scroll down, you see the checklist and everything, the cards, insert related sets. You've got the different stuff on there. But if you scroll down a little bit more here, and comfortable shoes. You see there? Ad for comfortable shoes. How appropriate. All right. But if you scroll down here, though, under videos, you've got a video that was posted by a contributor here who posted a Black Diamond box break. And if you notice from the corner logo there, that looks a little bit familiar. This is actually from my wrestling channel. I just thought it was hysterical that this came up because, like I said, I saw that thumbnail and it looked familiar to me. I'm actually very happy to see that it wound up here. I didn't realize this was a thing on Trading Card Database. I guess I don't spend enough time on it, but I guess you could link a video. In this case, somebody linked a video to my box break that wasn't so great. And as you can see from the characters' faces, I just basically said, well, it was a box. I believe I've opened the two worst boxes of Upper Deck Black Diamond AEW, in recorded history. You can legitimately see that it is, it was atrocious. It didn't work out. But I just thought it was very funny that of all places, it wound up on Trading Card Database. And I guess I should thank them for potentially some additional clicks that I might have gotten as a result of that. But I just thought I would share that here at the end, since it was kind of funny to me that it wound up in the Trading Card Database of all places, a link to one of those videos. I usually put a link in the description to that channel anyway. I believe I have already. If not, I'll include it in there. Definitely one of the things that I'm going to have in that ship my cards when I go and grab it is going to be some cards for the wrestling card side. So I'll do a video specifically showcasing that. So I'm going to be making a lot of videos. One way or the other, I can guarantee that in this expo season, it's the spring edition. I'm going to be making a bunch of videos for the two YouTube channels and probably for AMG as well. We're probably going to do some stuff with AMG. I don't think it'll be too crazy, but we'll definitely at least do something, kind of a walkthrough of kind of the way their booth is set up. But we'll definitely have a lot of fun, meet with a lot of the regular cast of characters, and it should be an enjoyable thing. If there's any questions or anything, I'll be keeping an eye on the channel. I don't get too distracted. I do enjoy participating in the moment, but it's one of those things where I know I'm not going to be buying stuff from all kinds of tables, but I will still be on the lookout. And that's mainly because I don't know what I'm going to want until I see it, because I don't have the set checklist anymore outside of, like I said, the one specific example. Outside of that, though, I'm kind of open to whatever's out there. Even the box break, it would be nice to do, but if I don't find a box price that I'm happy with, I'm not going to. Same thing, if I don't find a single outside of the one that I maybe have lined up that I'm happy with, then I'm probably not going to get that either. I'm mostly just going to enjoy the time. I think it's going to be enjoyable to have a lot of fun, have some good laughs with a lot of folks that I know, haven't seen in a while, and some folks that I haven't had the chance to meet yet. So if you do see any of myself or Bobby, who's definitely going to be out there, Brad Hartland from PSA, he's going to be manning that booth for sure. But if you see any of the folks that you've seen on the live stream before, feel free to say hello. I think Yannick is going to be coming down as well. So if you see any of the regular cast of characters, say hello. We're usually happy to chat, and we're not too busy to be able to sit down and chat for a little bit. That's one of my favorite things to do, especially at this particular show twice a year. With that said, all right, I think I've stalled enough. I met my video that I said I was going to make, so I have made this video, and now we'll try to get this thing edited together, and that is the pre-expo. So day 0, still at the house, haven't gone over yet, but tomorrow will be day 1, the VIP night, and then we'll kind of go from there. We'll have at least some kind of a vlog during the day or whatever pickups I do. I'll usually do the usual thing. I'm going to have my camera with me, so we'll be able to make some of that happen. More videos coming up on the channel. Live streams on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except probably this week. It'll probably be a different time, but if I do have a different time or anything, I'll put a community post up there just to let everybody know. But outside of that, we'll be all set on this end, and we'll figure it out as we go along. With that said, if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you in the next one.